So Donald Trump is in a rage. Well, yeah, okay, that's not much of a surprise. It's not really a new update. But this time, he's enraged over Google. Turns out, the president decided early in the morning to do a Google search of himself and was very dismayed at the results that he found. Earlier today, this is about 5:30 in the morning, he tweets out, Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing / reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged. Google is rigged, guys. Google's rigged against Donald Trump. He said, for me and others, so that almost all stories and news is bad. Fake news CNN is prominent. Republican, conservative, and fair media is shut out. Illegal? Oh, okay. Well, that last part, that's actually kind of important. But first, I love how he's like, oh, fair media, shut out. All I'm seeing is negative stories about myself. Could it be that maybe that's seems to be all that there is to report? Okay, look, to be fair, maybe there are some positive things to report. Look, for example, I'm going to do something nice. I'm going to say something nice. The deal that they're talking about with Mexico might actually help American workers. Oh my God. But we'll look into that, of course, and we'll look into the details and see if it does actually help. But it's a possibility that it actually might help American workers. And if so, I will give Donald Trump credit. But here's what he means by fair media, okay? He means media that's nice to me. Anything that's positive for Donald Trump. So things like Daily Wire, Breitbart, Fox News. Look, there's a lot of media that actually does do a lot of positive reporting on Donald Trump. That's where you'll find it. CRTV, all these different conservative outlets, they do a lot of positive stories. Now, for some reason, Donald Trump doesn't seem to be finding all that when he does a Google search on himself. Weird. But anyway, that's the context. Here's where it's important. He asks, is that illegal? Meaning that, oh, if it's illegal, then I'm going to go after Google. I'm going to attack Google for, apparently or reportedly or allegedly censoring conservatives, which is ridiculous. Ironically, Donald Trump is actually making a weird case for the fairness doctrine, probably without even knowing it. Now, of course, that's if what he was saying were true. But before I touch on that, one more tweet. He said 96% of, and percent is two different words. I know, right? 96% of results on Trump news are from national left-wing media. Very dangerous. Google and others are suppressing voices of conservatives and hiding information in news that is good. They are controlling what we can and cannot see. This is a very serious situation. Will be addressed. Okay. So again, a couple of things on that. So it turns out this entire thing was spurred not just from Googling himself, right? But it was actually spurred in a segment earlier on Fox News where they talked to Diamond and Silk. And of course, Diamond and Silk, they're like, we're being suppressed. Oh my God. You get millions of views. You're not being suppressed. And look, in some of the previous segments, I've ran down why they're not being suppressed, why they're not just going after conservative media. Okay. It turns out conservative media and liberal media has actually been targeted by Facebook algorithms. And that's what this is actually about. But here's the thing, right? You're not being suppressed because you're conservative, right? And as president, Donald Trump can't go after the media because of a thing called the First Amendment that guarantees freedom of the press. Now, I know Donald Trump hates that freedom because the mean things, they say mean things about me, they must be fake. I'm sorry, but just because people say mean things and your little ego can't handle it, doesn't mean you can go and attack the press. And here's the thing, right? And this is why he goes so hard after the media. He's been surrounded his entire life by yes men. No matter what he does, no matter what kind of ridiculous deal or how badly he screws up, people still kiss his ass. Why? It's because Donald Trump was born into money and got all sorts of money from his dad. So now that he ran for president and that he actually won, he is the president of the United States. Now you have people that are criticizing him, very powerful people, right? Mostly fairly, but sometimes unfairly. And we pointed that out before. And what it does is it completely shatters his worldview. Oh, no, I can't believe it. I will not admit that these things are correct, so I'm going to just label it fake news. Because I cannot be wrong. But he knows it's real, and he lashes out like a child. And of course, he threatens to violate the First Amendment to the Constitution over it. So anyway, look, what Trump thinks, and I believe this, and he's basically saying, I think Google is manipulating search results by hand, and are purposely filtering out positive news stories about me whenever somebody Googles Trump news. That's not how it works. There's no person that's sitting there going, I will now filter out Trump news so that the only thing that shows up in a Google search is negative. No, the search results that appear on any Google page are decided by an algorithm that brings in a whole host of factors, many of which remain known only to Google itself. Now, I find that slightly problematic because then again, if we knew what drove the algorithm, especially on Google or on platforms like YouTube, well, then we'd have millions of views. We'd know how to game the system in order to get the maximum amount of exposure. Nobody knows how that algorithm works. But it's certainly, the algorithm is a computer. This computer is not going to have a bias against Donald Trump. Now, results are also influenced by previous browsing and search history. So, look, if Donald Trump, and I can see this happening, Donald Trump's Googling the New York Times to read about what they're saying about him, then guess what? When he Googles Trump news, that's going to factor into his search results. Okay? If he Googles Paul Manafort, who just recently got convicted of 8 different charges, then it's going to come up with those 8 different charges. They're not going to be positive stories about Paul Manafort. It's all going to be stuff that was already in the news cycle, and the algorithm's going to pull that up. Okay? That's kind of how it works. So recent news and what you've looked up and all that stuff, right now, if you do a Google search on any of those things, you're going to get mostly what they would consider negative coverage, but I think it's honest coverage on Paul Manafort because he was guilty of 8 of those different counts. That's not a bias against Donald Trump. Not only that, but I'm reading an article here from The Independent who decided, you know what, I'm going to do my own Google search to show how different people's search results can vary, right? They found that searching for Trump news brings up stories from a wide range of sources. They included positive stories from the BBC and from Fox News, as well as more critical pieces from CNN. So they had more of a balance. So it really depends on your history, what you've looked at, what's in the news cycle, and a whole range of other factors. So everybody's search results are different. Thanks to that algorithm. That algorithm is not a human being. That algorithm is basically a robot that learns and it, tailors itself to its users, right? So here's the thing, right? Now, I've talked about in the show how left-wing independent media, that's what I would qualify as, has been hurt by our own algorithm on YouTube. So we had an issue for a couple of months where we weren't showing up in the search results, right? Because of algorithm changes. Now it turns out it's not just targeting left-wing media, it's actually targeting right-wing independent media as well. So we've had that issue, we fought with algorithms, and it turns out that those things are not perfect. So that can be problematic, right? But the thing is, it hits both left and right-wing sources pretty equally. Unlike what Donald Trump, Diamond and Silk are claiming. It's not an effort to go and stifle conservative voices. But there's the thing, right? They always do this. They always play this, we're unique victims, right? We're snowflake victims because the government is targeting us. Well, how's the government targeting you? And this is before, like, for example, with I think it was these groups that were being targeted by the IRS, the whole IRS scandal. Now it turns out it was left-wing groups and right-wing groups that are being targeted. The same. It's just that conservatives said, no, we are the victims. The government's coming after us. And now instead of the government coming after us, these same conservatives are saying, look at social media, look at Google, look at YouTube. They're all coming for us. They're all after us, which is not the case. Again, right-wing sites get hit, left-wing sites are getting hit. It's sort of spread across the board. So, just saying that this is not a way to stifle conservative voices. Now, if the government did come in and start shutting down companies for saying things or doing stories that they don't like, well, then that would be a problem. Oh, wait, that appears to be what Donald Trump is calling for. And that would be, of course, against the First Amendment, because it is the government trying to censor speech. Now, here's the thing. This is all projection, right? Oh, my God, the left-wing media, they're shutting us down. They're shutting us down. What left-wing media are you talking about? CNN? Don't make me laugh. Where's the left-wing media? All I know is that there's an establishment media, which is CNN, which is MSNBC, and yes, even Fox News is establishment media, and what they do is they favor power. If CNN were left-wing, why would Jake Tapper do a hit piece on Medicare for All, based on only the word of the guy who did the study, who wanted to contradict his own study? Left-wing media, my ass. Look, the media is the establishment media, right? And look, if I'm not mistaken, Donald Trump, the establishment media gave you $2 billion in free media coverage during the campaign. Under the direction of the Democratic Party, the media, the so-called left-wing media, elevated you with the Pied Piper strategy. They gave you more free time because they thought you'd be easier to beat. It's not left-wing media. It's establishment media, and they're only in it for their own power. So, what this is, though, is Donald Trump basically throwing a tantrum because people are mean to him online, and they write negative stories. And when he Googles and not understanding how this entire thing works, comes up with negative search results, and he goes into a rage. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't actual real problems with algorithm, with machine learning, and the increasing power of people like, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, and other social media companies besides Facebook being gatekeepers. We can talk about that. We can talk about how they do have an impact on what people see and hear on their platforms. But this is not that discussion. This is Donald Trump throwing a hissy fit over bullshit. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.